All right, you guys. Thank you so much, Paige, for asking me to guest speak on your call tonight. I am very passionate about the topic of inviting and hitting Success Club and things like that. And I know Paige said a little bit ago that she and I are very different in a lot of ways. And one of the ways we are very different, not just in our personalities, but in our business, is that I am not someone that has ever had a huge following. I am not someone that is good at attraction marketing. I am not someone that gets a lot of people just getting in my inbox. And this is why I am passionate about inviting, because I would not be where I am today if I hadn't been consistent in this vital behavior. Like I think I have like not even a little, just barely over 2,000 followers on Instagram. And that's over the course of more than 7 years. Okay. So what I want you guys to think about is ask yourself, why aren't you consistent in doing this? And then ask yourself, where would you be if you hadn't been invited? Okay. Just keep that in the back burner of your mind throughout the rest of this. So it's pretty obvious for a lot of reasons why we invite. It's the best way to grow our business. It is a good way to have conversations with women, to build connections and different things like that. But it's also a really good way to take ownership and say that I am a business owner. And this is something that I just have to get out of my own way and do if I want to get to that next step or that next level of my business. You also, inviting is part of our storefront. One of the first and foremost ways that we invite is through our social media and our content. Just putting ourselves out there, sharing our story, connecting where we started with where we are now and different things like that, so that people can relate to us, but also see what's possible for them. All right. It's also a way to get content ideas. The more we are having conversations with someone and getting in someone's inbox and helping people, the more we are finding our own things that we want to put out there to keep talking about, so that other people kind of have that aha moment. They're like, okay, I need to do this too. And then the last two are things that people might not always think about, but I feel like these are foundational and really just, I don't know, like taking things to the next level. And that is inviting and having conversations with people. Not only grows your business, but it builds your personal confidence in yourself, in what we do, and it builds belief in what we have to offer. And like I said, that does not happen if we are not inviting and having conversations and putting our own fears and doubts and worries behind us and just moving forward and realizing that it's less about us and more about the potential for those people that we get to help and the potential of what this business has to offer us. All right. When do you invite and where do you invite from? So for me, I usually try to invite first and foremost from my stories now. But when I first started my business, stories were not a thing. Actually, they weren't even a thing until I was like almost 4 years into this business. And so a lot of initially where I invited from was posts and content that I was putting out through the week. So obviously, the first thing you need to be doing is putting content out on social media, which I feel like, Paige, your team is really good in the social media game. But it's good to put those things out there, but that's not where you stop. You have to take those people that are engaging with you and engage back with them in their inbox. because there's a reason why they liked your post. There's a reason why they commented on your post. And you will never find out why that reason is if you don't get out of your way and get in their inbox and have their conversation. All right. And like I said, stories is another thing. I feel like stories is the easiest place now to invite from, is just because, especially if you're talking in your stories and people are really getting to know you as a person, they're hearing your tone, they're hearing your emotion, your inflections in your voice and different things like that. And it's just more natural to have those conversations because, like I said, they are getting to see your kind of behind the scenes, your day in the life and things like that. But at the end of the day, the best place to invite from is where you can stay consistent. I'm not going to be the coach or the body partner or whatever you want to call it that is going to tell you you have to hit a certain amount of invites every single day. I'm never going to tie a number to this business, because as much as I'm type A, I also get really anxious if I put too much on my plate that I know that I can't handle, amongst being a mom and taking care of my home and running errands and doing all the things. So you just have to find your sweet spot and stick with it. When I started this business, I didn't have time during the week like I do now. I had a daughter who was just over 1 year old that had just started walking, like literally 2 weeks before I started this business. I was teaching 22 fitness classes across 3 different gym locations. My daughter went with me to almost every single one of them. So put this scenario in your mind. She had just started walking. I was taking her into fitness classes where people were having to move around the room the entire time. And I was teaching as many as 3 to 4 back-to-back classes during the kids' witching hours, which is like that time between their afternoon nap and dinner time, bedtime sort of routine. So it was very, and I was still breastfeeding, so very crazy to say the least. But a lot of what I did in the beginning was I would just take my content from the week and I would go onto Facebook, because we didn't even use Instagram when I first started coaching. I would go into Facebook and look and see what of my posts were the top performing that week. And then I would reach out and connect with every single person that wasn't like my mom or my sister or someone that was already working with me, and just thank them. I thank them for engaging with my posts, for supporting me. And then I complimented them, or maybe tried to relate to them a little bit, and asked what it was about whatever that topic I was talking about was, what about that they related to, or what did they feel like they connected with, because that's truly what I wanted to know. And so that I could know what to keep posting about, but also just to get to know them a little bit better. A lot of times they were transformation posts, or what I would seem to get the most engagement on and things like that. And so I just asked them, are you wanting to do something like this too? Or, different things like that, where it's technically kind of like an invite, but it's not just like coming right out and saying, do you want to join my next fit camp group? Like, it was just kind of a way to get to know them, but more so get to know what it is that they're looking for. So yeah, I lost my train of thought for a second, but yeah, so that's kind of what I did in the beginning. So if you're at a place where you're really busy in life, or you just don't have time during the weekdays to make it work, set aside some time on the weekends. Like through the week, if you're talking in your stories and doing things like that, make it a point to at least every evening sit down and write down the names, or put them in your notes in your phone, of the people that are showing up regularly, so that come Saturday morning or whenever it's most convenient for you, you can send messages to those women. Hey, I saw you engaging, or you were watching my stories this week. Thank you so much for supporting me when I'm putting myself out there and showing kind of my fitness routine and things like that. Is that something you're wanting to work on too? Or just kind of something along those lines. You really just have to trust your gut when it comes to things like that. But I don't send this big long message of like, oh, we're going to do this, 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 and this on this day, but just ask them, thank them, relate to them, and then ask them if this is something they're wanting to do, or whatever it is you're reaching out to them from. Always kind of connect it back to that, so they don't just feel like it's coming out of the blue. So that they know that you are appreciating that they are supporting you in some way or another. Obviously, if you're someone that's just getting started and just getting your feet wet in social media, the people you need to be inviting are those that already know, like, and trust you. People like, for me, a lot of my first clients or customers came from people that were coming to my fitness classes. Now, I know that seems a little bit more effortless and natural because it relates a lot to what we do with coaching, but I don't think that matters. It was just a matter of that was where I could pull those people that already, like I said, knew, like, and trusted me. For you, that might be coworkers or whatever type of work you do. If you're a hairdresser and you have clients that maybe have talked about wanting to lose weight or just wanting to feel more confident and things like that, you really just have to kind of look around you and not be afraid to, if it comes up in conversation, take that next step. Especially if there's someone that you feel like you vibe with really, really well and you think would really be an asset into your community, then don't hesitate, reach out, because if you don't, there's a good chance someone else will. And it might not necessarily be someone that is going to help them in the same way that you can. Meaning, if you don't help them with our tools, someone that comes along with some quick fix could, and because they are so desiring, feeling that certain way, they might jump on that, and it might not be something that will necessarily help them or give them the longevity that we know that they can get from what we have to offer. So don't hesitate. What I always like to think about when it comes to my groups and my community and stuff like that, and it's taken a lot of learning things the hard way through this business to get to this point, and going from really wanting to help everyone to wanting to help people that I know are going to be a good fit for my community. And that is, think of it like a birthday party. I always use this analogy, like, who are the kind of people that you want coming to your birthday party? You're not going to want the person that, is just kind of being the loner in the corner, not really wanting to talk to anyone, which would probably be in a lot of parties, let's be honest. But you know what I'm saying? You want someone that is going to bring good energy, that is going to be willing to engage with others, support others, not like finger point and pick apart someone for what they feel comfortable sharing and different things like that. So you really have to not necessarily be picky, but usually when you're getting in someone's inbox, it's much easier to start to get those vibes. For me, some of my red flags were people that if I would ask them about their goals or what they would want to achieve, if all they could say was they wanted to lose 5 pounds, but they couldn't tie that to anything real, I was like, I don't know if they're really going to see the success. And not saying that wanting to lose weight is a bad thing, but for me, you know what I'm saying? You can tell those people that just want it because they think that that's what they need to say, and it wasn't necessarily personal to them. That's kind of what I'm getting at. So, yeah, you really have to think about those things as well. But when it comes to all of this, at the end of the day, you have to once again ask yourself where you would be had your coach, had your friend, had your whoever not invited you. And every time you feel yourself pulling back from sending that message, from thanking that person for supporting your post or watching your stories or things like that, think that they could be you on the other side of that message that you're going to send. And I know for me, I wasn't necessarily invited in my inbox, but my original coach, if she had never put out that thing on social media saying exactly what she was doing with this business and how it was changing her life already, I wouldn't have seen it as a possibility for me. And I wouldn't have, I was one of those like unicorn kind of people, because I messaged her and asked her what she was doing. But that's another reason why I am so passionate about just putting yourself out there and sharing the things that maybe you're a little bit afraid to share, knowing that it could relate to someone else and help them to see what's possible for them. So I want to open up and see if anyone has any questions or anything. I'm way more of a Q&A person than a presenter person.
I have a question.
Yes.
So can you talk a little bit about your mindset going into every single month? Because I don't know for sure that you've hit Success Club every month being a coach, but I know it's very close to every single month being a coach. So what do you tell yourself going into the month to know that you're going to do it? And then what are the actions behind it to actually do it?
Yeah. So a lot of what I do is I'm a visual person. Like I can say things, but things don't really become real to me until I write them down and put them on paper. And I know you can't see it, but back here to my left on my closet door, I have a dry erase board. And every single month, I always write out the amount of people I want to help that month. And I take a lot of things into consideration. I take like, how many people did I help last month? What is the program that I'm going to be doing? Am I as excited about it as I am in programs to come in the next months, different things like that. I think about how many days there are in a month, what I have going on personally, because I really want to be realistic. If there's a lot of things going on, I'm probably not going to be able to help quite as many as I would in a month where, you know, we're stuck at home all the time, sort of thing. So this month I set the goal because I was in the T25 podcast. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on out and say I'm going to help 25 people for T25. Because I was like, oh, how many of them? And it's not necessarily all challenge packs. Some of them will be people that just unlock access and different things like that. But I was like, I'm going to set this goal. And I want at least 12 of them to be new people that are either upgrading to a total solution pack with their renewal, or new people coming in, or people that maybe have fallen off for a while and are wanting to recommit and re-engage. But I always have things written out. So I'm going to look at it so I don't say anything wrong. So I always have the month at the top. I usually write over to the side what program I'm going to be doing and different things like that. And I put that I want to help 12 people. Well, then I put little tally marks every time I help someone, so that I can see that number starting to become what I wanted it to be, and different things like that. And I'm not saying every single month I hit it, but when I have that up there, I definitely strive for it. And I don't hold myself back or let fear of, well, what if this person doesn't respond to my message, or different things like that. I don't let those things get in my way, because I'm like, whatever's going to happen, I'm going to help those people. If it's not this person's time, I'm going to find that person that is ready. And I always think, I don't know why I have this vivid memory, but I remember at one point there was this new person that came, and this was, like I said, my first year as a coach. So I was very much more talking to people in person too. But there was this girl that came into my workout class, and she was really quiet, wasn't super social, but she came into my class and got to work. And I remember when she walked into my class, I was like, she's going to be one of my coaches someday. And guess what? She was. She wasn't like a lifer or anything like that, but she came in, she was gung-ho, she became an Emerald coach early on and things like that. But it was one of those things, like, I knew the kind of people I wanted to work with. And when I saw her come in, I could see that she was that type of person that would just come in, be quiet, and get to work and do the things she needed to do. So just thinking of things like that. I also have other goals written out, like how many of my coaches I want to help rank advance or different things like that, income goals, and all of that. But I feel like when you have a number in mind, I don't try to I compartmentalize. So what I do, and this is kind of what I try to teach my coaches, is I try not to be like, oh my gosh, I want to help 25 people, and feel overwhelmed by that, but I take it one person at a time. And so I know most people do recognition boards. I do a weekly business report, and that's how I lay it out. And at the very bottom, I say helping change the life of one woman at a time or something like that. And so I always think of it just one at a time, because that's literally how I write it on my board. Each time I help one, I tally mark it. And then I keep going through like that. And I think that sometimes we can set these numbers like, oh, I want to hit Success Club. Okay, that's great. But you have to really think and visualize what that's going to look like for you. So maybe it's helping 2 people a week. If you think about it, it's technically just helping one person a week. And what I try to tell my coaches is, especially when they're first starting out, is to focus on trying to earn a paycheck every single week. Because we know that when we see those weekly pay statements and we see that money on there, it feels really good, because you know that that's someone's life that you're able to impact. Plus, it helps us not have any kind of financial stress or anything like that week to week. That little extra week to week makes a difference. So I know most people know this by now, probably, but a pay period for us goes from a Thursday through the next Wednesday. And so I'd always be like, okay, just focus on helping one new person get started that week. Because guess what? If you focus on that one person, then by the end of the month, you're going to achieve Success Club. So that's technically, it's almost 4 people a month that you would be helping if you just focus on one at a time. But you have to really set a goal, but then also compartmentalize that goal. I try to think of my mom and I are tiling the floor of a huge room in our shop. And she even said, you just have to focus on one section of the floor at the time, because if you look at the whole thing, it's going to be daunting and it's going to be overwhelming. But if you just focus on one little, square or rectangle at a time, then it's a lot easier. And you kind of have to do that with this business. It's not just set the goals and feel overwhelmed by them, but set them and then attach them to what they mean to you, but then also compartmentalize and break them down. Okay, what does this really look like? One, what is it now, like $68 to $72 paycheck a week? That's a really big deal over the course of a month. You get 2 of those, even better. But just focus on at least one every single week. And before you know it, you'll be hitting Success Club. You won't feel overwhelmed by this business. You won't feel like you're needing to compare to anyone else, but it just makes it more doable.
Anybody else have a question for Alaina? She's a veteran. Don't hold back. Not a war veteran, a body veteran.
I could definitely not go to war. Maybe for my kids, but that's about it.
Okay. If nobody else has a question, I have a final question for you. What does the change to body mean to you?
Well, what I can say is I definitely finally feel fully aligned with what I've kind of preached from the very beginning. How I said a little bit ago that if someone said, oh, I want to lose 5 pounds, but if they couldn't tie that to anything, I was like, ooh, I was like, red flag, like this is probably not my people, because it's never been about weight loss to me. I have shown I've actually enjoyed some of my favorite moments through this business was when I was pregnant, and I would use humor a lot in my before and afters to really kind of bring people into what I was doing. I don't know if you guys probably don't remember this because goodness, it was almost 6 years ago now. But when I was pregnant with my youngest, because I had my oldest right before I became a coach, but there was some like crazy article that the Today Show was talking about coconut oil being bad for you or it causing you to get fat or something like that. And that was what I used to rub on my stretch marks. So I was like, I'm going to take this bottle of coconut oil and show me rubbing it all over my belly and be like, oh my gosh, they say that it makes you fat. And I think they're right or something like that. And I just had fun with it, but I have never, weight loss has never really been a goal of mine. Even now, like 7.5 years later, when I'm not as little as I was when I started coaching, and that's fine. I'm going through like everyone will go through different seasons of their life. I'm getting older. I'm getting closer to 40. Like I've just always had fun with this business, had fun with transformations. I have never shied away from sharing the realness and what's going on with my body, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And I feel like us kind of transitioning into all the health esteem and just loving your body through the process is what I have preached from the very beginning. And so I feel like Beachbody has always, to me, been different than what it's like for me to work at the gym as like a personal trainer. And I've always told people that, like, don't think that you have to look a certain way. Like that is what I feel like is more like the gym version of like I said, a personal trainer. But as coaches, we are in the trenches with you and we are locking arms with you and we are in this with you. And I feel like we finally encompass what I have thought of being a coach from the very beginning. So.
Meg had a final question there about organization, your best organization tips. Meg, do you have any specifications about that? Do you mean like for people she's talked to or just anything?
I mean, like overall, when it comes to organizing, like how do you like teach your coaches to approach organizing all that goes with this, like all the people you talk to, all the things you're doing, checking in with people, that kind of stuff. Like what resources do you give them, I guess would be my question.
I'm kind of different in the way that it's not a one size fits all. I don't think. What I try to teach my coaches is to find what they can do over and over again and stick to. So some people like using like the notes section of their phone or different apps on their phone and things like that. I can't do that necessarily. I mean, I personally, I use Teamsy, and I'm not going to go and tell everyone to use Teamsy because it does take a lot to keep up with and different things like that. But I started out with pen to paper. I still like I said, I'm a very visual person. So if I put my goals in like my notes of my phone, I'm probably not going to be tied to them as much as having them in big, obnoxious, bright colors on my dry erase board, because I usually try to change the colors based on the theme for the month. Like Easter, I had more purple, or like April, I've had more purple and things like that, or March, I use green. So that's just kind of what works for me as far as my own personal kind of thing. I have this very simple I think it's Day Designer. I don't even know anymore. Yeah, Day Designer planner. I've used the same thing every year for like 5+ years, maybe more. And I like it just because it's big And I literally have a side where I'll write anything that I want to do that day in my business, and a side where, and it's not even how this is organized, but that's just how it works in my head. And a side for like home and personal things. Like if I need to remember my kids have a field trip that day or something like that, or I'll put like tasks I want to do, like I have that I want to wipe down my fridge tomorrow on the thing. And on the left, I have the national wake up call. And I always do recognition boards in my fit camp on Monday and different things like that. Because for me, the vitals, I don't need that reminder every day because that's just what I do. I show up on social media, I have conversations with people and things like that. But for the other things, I don't want to like fall through the cracks. I do it that way. For me, I try to have 3 home things and 3 business things. If I don't get those things done every day, I give myself grace. And then I just move them to a day later in the week, or I evaluate, is that something I really need to do right now? Like, do I really need to clean the toilets today? No, it can probably wait till the weekend, like different things like that. So that's just, I am an organized person, but I also have to not overwhelm myself. And again, compartmentalizing it where I have home stuff in one section and business stuff in the other, and not making my list so daunting that it's not going to happen, but keeping it. I mean, if you have to, give yourself 1 or 2 things that you do for your business that is going to move it forward, not necessarily something that's just going to be like making a million graphics isn't going to grow your business, just saying, but sending 5 invites will. So that's kind of how I would describe it, because everyone's going to be in a different phase and has a lot of different things going on. And I'm not going to try to relate to one of my coaches that is working like hours at the hospital as a nurse. Like I can't relate to that, but I'll say, okay, what can you do? What I will say is I try to get people to have it stacked. If I have a coach that's really struggling to figure out when she can post on social media or when she can send invites, I'm like, okay, you're already waking up and doing your workout very consistently. So take 5 minutes after you're done with that workout and your energy's high and you're so excited for what you're doing, and send messages to people. Post something, a tidbit that you took from the workout that your trainer said, or something that you felt doing that workout, and then post that on social media. And before that, 10-15 minutes after your workout, and you have those 2 things done, and you can feel, and your workout, and you're probably going to have your shake or whatever, and you're going to feel really good heading into the rest of your day. Because I am very much a morning person, and I'm like, take that momentum from your workout and carry it with you the rest of the day. So if you're not a morning person, find what works best for you, but you have to know that. I can't tell you what that's going to be. You have to know what you already do very consistently that gives you energy, and then take advantage of that.
I love that. I also think you just like, it's hard because the true answer is find what works. Let me tell you, I don't think I've ever shared this with you guys, but one of my favorite places to connect, and some of you will be like, yeah, that's obvious. You Marco Polo me there. My bathtub. I love getting in my bath, having a little snack, and making connections with people. They do not know what I'm doing on the other side, but I'm sitting there naked, relaxing, making connections, and it is my favorite time to do it. I love it. So it's like so relaxing. So you just have to find the time that it's like, this feels good to me right now. It doesn't feel burdensome. It doesn't feel like rush. Like, I love the idea of sending invites right after your workout, especially the simple thing. If you have coaches that are struggling, of 5, that's so easy. Even say 3. That's probably more than a struggling coach is sending in the first place. So if you could just make it simple and say, hey, after your workout, before you ever leave your workout space, send 3 invites. You do that for 2 weeks, bump it up to 5. And if they're doing that every single day, they're going to get people interested. So I love that. Alaina, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. We're coming up on 8:45. So I'm going to let you guys get back to your Sunday night. But Alaina, I appreciate your tips. I'm always inspired by your consistency, and I know my team is as well. So it's good to see you guys tonight, and I'll see you
Thank you all.
next Saturday, you guys, is Molly Asplin, and she's talking about income. So Alaina and Ashley, if you want to come, you're more than welcome. But it's going to be an amazing call. If you don't know who she is, go stalk her. She's incredible. You want to learn from her. Okay. All right. That's all I have.